Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Falani. This morning, we thought we'd look at the Jos crisis update. That's becoming something of a, it's a developing story. It's gotten so that citizens from other states are actually withdrawing school children from Jos simply because of their fear for their safety. We have a package on that. But before we go, let me just tell you that my guest this morning, we got journalist and public affairs analyst Chris Kainde Wandu. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's nice to be here. Good
Indeed.
Morning.
Our pleasure. And Femi Arato Kwale, he's a security expert. He's UK based. He's home, and he keeps an eye on goings on.
Good morning, Nigerians, and thanks for having me.
Indeed, our pleasure. So let's look at. We have a report that we put out earlier about the concern level among parents from other states, and they're withdrawing their children. And so what's going to happen to the children in Jos? They can't withdraw to anywhere. We'll come back after the package.
There has been rising tension in Jos after the attack that led to the death of over 20 persons traveling through the state's capital. There have been a series of reprisal attacks, and this has now become major concern for citizens. Despite the curfew imposed by the state government, the violence continues, with some students of the University of Jos unfortunate enough to have been caught in the middle of these attacks. The school management announced the suspension of academic activities and advised students to vacate the hostels and return to their various homes. Some state governments have embarked on evacuating their indigents schooling in the state, while some are yet to do so.
Solidarity forever.
This umbrella body of Nigerian students is concerned about the safety of their members and calls on states yet to evacuate their students to do so now.
NAS under our leadership, who vigorously pursue compensation for the families of our slain members and many of our students who have lost valuable to this emergency. We call on the government at all levels, security agencies, to ensure that justice adequately served and perpetrators of this evil are brought to book and made to face the full wrath of law.
The association is set to convene a security summit in Abuja with stakeholders to address the continued attack on Nigerian students.
Through this security summit, we shall bring together critical stakeholders in the security sector, in the education sector, in all tertiary institutions in Nigeria, and all the SUG presidents, academics, coordinators of our organizations.
The summit is slated to hold on the 28th of October 2021. The summit is also aimed at supporting Nigerian security agencies in fighting insecurity and crime, especially in schools. Helen Osamede Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, well, so this is, let's sort of open up from there. Beyond NAN's calling at the time, on people to do so, the evacuation has actually begun,
Yes.
really?
Yes, the evacuation has begun. Lagos State, have evacuated their students. They're already in Lagos. Abia State started it. We've seen some students arriving in Umuahia some days back, and some other states, or your state, also did that. But the unique aspect of that of Lagos is that it's not just Lagos indigents that were evacuated from Jos. Every student that lives in Lagos were evacuated, unlike what you saw in other states. So that was the unique nature of their own evacuation. And but what baffled some of us, or what beats my imagination, what happened to other students that are from Plateau states? What of those that are from Jos? What happens to their life? But don't forget that some of these students actually just have been killed. They have been caught in this crossfires. Some of them from there, when they left their hostels, wanted to go and get some stuff, they got killed. And that is where you could see where the NANS president was saying that there is need for compensation for some of the students who have been killed. But they have been killed. No matter whatever compensation you give their parents, we will still bring the life of those children back. Definitely not. It's not possible.
So stability, so security and stability is a grave concern at the moment.
Well,
and we're hoping to link up because sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It has also sort of extended up to some sort of a controversy as to whether or not the power politics going on, whether or not the House of Assembly in Plateau has been shut down. You know, there are contentions. Some people from the House saying that was the case. The clerk of the House saying that is not the case. The spokesperson for Governor Simon Naanlong saying that government has nothing to do with it. We don't interfere or intervene in different levels of governance. You've heard all of that.
I've heard all of that, and it's a shame that we've now put politics into the lives and structure of our Nigerian education that we have today, which is not meant to be so. So if that should be the case, then where are we heading to? Now, with all the mess going on, our students, our future generation seems to have been caught in within, and there is no means of escape anymore. So this is one thing. Parents, school lecturers, VCs, and all security architecture that we have in Nigeria must sit down together and start thinking about what do we do as regards to school security in Nigeria today.
Yeah, as you know, there's the matter of Governor Simon Naanlong feeling very sore about the role or non-role of the federal government, the government at the center in relation to this. In fact, I get the impression, perhaps whatever your impression is, that Governor Simon Naanlong thinks that he isn't getting all the help that he could get from Abuja. Abuja is strenuously denying this, and colorations are being put on it, which is not doing anything for dousing tension.
Don't forget, Governor Naanlong visited the villa some days back, and just few hours after, less than 24 hours after he left the villa, back to Jos, then there was that attack, and continually. I just see this as, first of all, we even have to look at it. How did this crisis start? I think that is where we have to start off from. This started in about 2001. The first major crisis was in 2001, where there was a crisis, call it ethnic, call it religious, call it whatever you like. But in 2001, that was a serious crisis in Jos, and over 1,000 people were killed. Then, later in 2004, another crisis in Jos happened, where over 700 people. It was after that crisis that, if you remember, that the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo, imposed a state of emergency in Plateau State. And that lingered for some time before the governor came back and the rest of them. Then, later again, 2008, another crisis again within Jos. That was also over 500 people, especially in a place called Yewa. You know, this is always within the Jos South, just within Jos, the three local governments within Jos.
There's always been
yes, it has always been that tension. Ethnic and rest of them. Then down to what happened just few days back, where the people within the area felt that they were being attacked by allegedly Fulani people and the rest of them, culminating in the killing of about 23 or 24 people coming from Bauchi State. They were heading back to Ondo State, in which which they called reprisal attacks. We need to look at what is the root cause of this problem. And I think that is where
that is, if there is any particular one, if it's not a handful of causes. As you know, there is also resentment about condolence attitudes, let me just put it that way, having been expressed towards one religion, and then people from another faith say nothing was mentioned about our faithfuls.
Exactly.
You see?
Yes. And that is what I'm saying, because
so it's a combination of complications.
So many things. That's why I say religion, ethnicity, even politics has also played a role. Well, politics has also played a role.
But that's the most unfortunate one, because that's the main one, I think, that can possibly be, you can adjust that. You can sit down and come together.
Then the role of the security agencies also. we can say.
Stop looking at my face, because I've always been advocating. I've always been advocating for a new strategy, a new structure.
When you mentioned the role of security, I
saw the way you.
I also feel sure that intelligence is going to play a large. That is because when you think of the role of security, It is intelligence.
It's intel. Number
Yeah, it's
one.
intel,
Number
agreed.
one is number
Okay,
one.
So what is the
let's-
quality of
okay,
intel
let's
available,
try.
and how is it being deployed? These are,
Okay,
as
you
I
know
said,
what?
more than one or two.
Let me put it to you
situations.
this. Let me put it to you this way.
Sure.
Before we probably start asking questions, let us ask: who is the CSO that has been chosen by the governor to oversee the security architecture in just Plateau State? We need to understand that first. Then, what has been his role? What has he been able to do so far? If he has not been able to do anything, then what does it cost him to resign honorably? Because a lot of bloodshed seems to have been on his plate, on his table right now.
The chief
Are we
CSO as in chief security
chief
officer.
security officer in Plateau State
Well,
being chosen by the governor? I don't know who it is, but there should be a role.
The governor is the well.
No.
There have been these contentions
Yes,
about what he
well,
did,
well,
but
that-
yes.
by law, by
law,
definition,
yeah.
By definition, there is a
the
CSO.
governor
Security
Yeah.
officer of the state is the governor.
Is the governor.
Is the chief executive. and
He-
the chief
the
security
governor doesn't
officer.
appoint one. It's
You
sort
only
of-
appoint
it
an
comes-
officer.
he does
it-
appoint.
It
I
comes with
believe
the
that.
territory.
Yes.
It comes with the territory of your being a governor.
Yeah.
But
Yes, so
governors-
but the governor will choose
but
who is who.
governors have always said
There's an essay.
it's an academic exercise. Say, in reality, how can you call me a chief security officer when I don't have any
control.
authority over
Police.
forces?
Then,
You
so
know,
who do we now blame?
Well, I don't know if it's
That
a
is
matter
the
of-
question.
Is it a
Okay,
blame game?
okay, hold on. If we're talking about that, then who is the CSO to University of Jos?
Okay.
Now, what has been the VC, CSO, and the Security Council in University of Jos and other universities around the country or in the whole country that, look, what do we do in terms of this insecurity within our campuses?
Well, it's a very complex situation, as I tried to sort of indicate, that we can't really isolate one or two. I
We're
understand
not.
that these all play some sort of a part. In fact, as soon as we get hold of Honorable Daniel
Yeah.
Naanlong, he's the majority leader, Plateau State House of Assembly. He's scheduled to join this program. Hearing from him, especially the State Assembly part, because that's the seat of really between it and the executive. That's the state of governance.
Yes, it is.
Over in Plateau State.
It is.
And they seem to be at odds right now.
It is.
Both of them seem to be at odds.
Where they will, you see, this is where the political body language will start playing. Now, the whole thing is about blaming each other or not agreeing on things. And the people that will be caught within this web are going to be the citizens, the students, the helpless people.
Well,
The people that are not privileged to be probably, to be well,
Yeah.
overwhelmed with security agencies. And this is what we have now.
okay. What do you think, Chris, that if you look at the arguments of the governor, and as you know, there have been statements from the presidency that the governor is being unnecessarily inciting. The governor says that might be your interpretation. Remember, there was a time the governor had actually put out there that, can you please address the issue rather than attacking me? So it's gotten that acrimonious. And we're in the middle of a security situation. People are just worried, scared, and all eyes are on that area. Too many lives have been lost, and there doesn't seem to be any way out of the logjam. But as I said, the presidency is actually saying that the governor is being the opposite of being economical with the truth.
Yes, but we cannot blame the
They
government.
believe the government is saying effectively that he's squandering the truth all over the place.
Well, is it really the problem of the governor? Just as rightly said, the governors don't have any control over security agencies. And that is why we'll also be talking about the issue of the Constitution, where we need to think about the Constitution. There have been instances where we're talking about state policing. If you understand what I'm trying to say. We'll be talking about state policing. The Commissioner of Police in Plateau State or in any part of Nigeria will first of all will take an instruction from the Inspector General of Police sitting in Abuja, rather than governor in the state. The GOC in Plateau State or the commander of Operation Safe Haven in Jos will take command from the Chief of Army Staff in Abuja, sitting there in Abuja.
And that's the way it is in
And that's
every
the way
state of
every
the
state
country.
of the
That's
country.
the way.
Yeah.
And
So
it's long we've known this.
The governor of Plateau State or any governor in Nigeria cannot deploy a single soldier from any barrack. He cannot.
No.
Without the express permission of the president.
You see, Chris, this
Yes.
is exactly why the
That is-
structure must change.
So what I'm saying in essence is that so it is easier for anybody to blame the governor. The governor have done this, have not done this. But that is even on a higher level. But I still believe that the governors also have their role to play. Because if you look at what is happening, religion, we've talked about religion is involved. We've talked about politics, we've talked about ethnics. When you look at all this, that is not within the pivot of the president. It has nothing to do with the federal government. It is the state government and the locals that have authority over this. Is it the local government chairman? Is it the imam that is preaching? Is this the pastor or bishop that's preaching every day, every Sunday? Or is it the imam that is also preaching every Friday, who incites his followers? The pastor that preaches every Sunday, that incites his converts and the rest of them. That is the issues. Then the state government now has to be, there's a deficit of, there's a trust deficit between the people and those governing them. You are talking of the state houses of assembly. How many of the members of the state houses of assembly have visited their local governments since they were elected? How many of them have felt the pulse of the people? How many of them know what is happening? Once they're elected, the first thing they do is to change their numbers. Their people cannot reach them. Those in Plateau, they remain in Jos. Those in Abia, they will remain Umuahia. Those in Imo, they will remain. Those in, except probably those in Lagos, that you can easily, of course, you cannot be elected into the House of Assembly in Lagos and you want to move from Surulere to Ikeja. No. You move from your house. So it is much easier for people to reach out. But most of this crisis starts from the lower level, from the locals. And most of you ask yourself, security agencies, don't they have intelligence? What is the relationship between the people and those? Because before this thing happened, look at what happened, this very last one. Before the attack, there was a footbridge, what we call the Paco Bridge. A day before that, it was removed. That's the only link between that village and other. And when it was being removed, somebody raised the say, this thing they remove it. Like something what happened. Where were the security things? That for me is intel. Ordinarily, the local government chairman or community leader could have called the secretary and say something seems to be happening here. But before you know it, within 22 hours, that place was attacked, and a family of 16 were burned to death in one just house.
Well, as I said, it's that kind of a situation. The tension is very high. It led to this whole controversy over whether or not the House of Assembly, which, if you want, can really be probably be seen as that closest to the people at the grassroots,
when the people were
being closed, being sealed. And then we're hearing that it wasn't so.
I'm sorry, let me come in from there. I love your analysis and the way you've actually, dissected everything. That's fine. But ask yourself this question. Let's ask ourselves and let's ask Nigerians. How many security training program has been given to these people in Plateau State despite the volatility they have over there? Well, the answer is zero. I have some documentaries that actually showed me that way back in early 2000s, a budget was made, security agencies were trained, the task force security agencies in Plateau State were trained. By who? By the Israelis. What was the outcome of their training? What happened after the training? Were there any serious training given to them at all? I have the videos, I have the pictures. It was all just shambolic. We seem to forget the fact that we're not being addressed properly and we want them to take the mantle that they are not even being trained with. It's not going to work. It's not going to be possible, except we change the strategy we use in guiding our security agencies. Okay. They are overwhelmed. They are understaffed. They are not given the proper welfare, no proper tools. All this accounts to the insecurity we're facing today.
All that be as it may, today, people are fearful for their lives just for being in the wrong place in the capital of justice. But before I come back to continue on that, so I hear what you're saying, but all of those are going to be near, medium to long-term matters for resolution. Yes. But people are dying today. Mr. Bubakar in Bauchi, good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning, how are you?
Yes.
Please, the issue of security, whether in Plateau or in anywhere in Nigeria, things has changed because our governments, they have been giving forward too much beyond their own capacity. The same thing, the presidency. Our constitution needs to be changed. Let's go back to 70s. You remember in 70s, the security is not alone, it's not only in the hands of the government or the federal government. The security started right from the world. In our tradition, we have the ward head, have the village head, then we have a district head, and then we have the emir himself. So the word hate, whenever a guest, a stranger came, is aware of him, he would take him to the district head, and then the district would take him to the ward head. That is how it goes. But now, I see Bauchi go to Oyo, and staying in Oyo, nobody even know my presence and my existence. How can we keep the security? Last week, I was coming from Katsina. When I was alone, it was a public transport. I am alone in Nigerian. The rest are, 2 are from Niger, 3 are from Chad. From Katsina up to Kano, no any security, no any immigration that asks us they are from where. Now, they came to Nigeria. The place they are going to live, nobody knows them. Nobody knew what they brought in. So this is the issue now. The issue of security concerns all of us. Each one of us has to play a role. But when we want the security to change, our constitution has to be changed.
Yeah.
Because our traditional ruler now doesn't have any role.
Okay.
Take example now. The emir, sorry, I'm concluding now. The emir of Kano. The emir of Kano now, he doesn't have the power. The chairman of local government has power more than him. When you try to correct things, the governor will just remove them. This is what happened in Kano. Not.
Well, interesting. Thank you very much for that contribution. He takes us back to a conversation we had early, I think it was middle of last week, towards the end of last week, looking at the roles of local governments. Maybe it was even a bit later than that. And we were saying what Mr. Bubakar was actually sort of highlighting there, that local councils, security needs to begin from there. But that is if the local governments are indeed empowered and enabled as they constitutionally are supposed to be. It's just that the way things are, it's a work in progress for whatever reason. We don't want to go into that conversation. But thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar, for pointing out that it's also something else that should be in the conversation as we are talking about intel, as in, you know, security, intelligence, and all of that. I mean, there are also these aspects of policing, because he was bringing up the point that, look, in a local environment, just about everybody knows everybody. That's why there are different layers and different levels, and they keep on escalating it. Yeah. And I think Mr. Abubakar was saying that the ball game has changed in these modern times.
It does.
It does.
And
that
is what happened across the globe. If you go to the United Kingdom, you have the counties, you have the county police, you have the normal federal police. Most often than not, yes. You go to the US, the same thing. You go to most of these countries, you see that policing has been localized. And that is why we've been saying that there is a need for us to think out with our constitution as it presently, where we rest all powers and security on just the federal government. It won't work. You cannot take somebody from Kanu and send it to my village in Umungobo in Imo State, and you expect him to know everything about my village. It is not possible. Yeah. Within my village, they are serving what we call, you know what you call this Lagos Koro, that people can enter and stay.
I suppose it's going back to what people refer to as the security architecture.
That is it.
That architecture. It is. Mr. George in Ikeja, thank you for calling in. Go ahead now, please.
Yori, and greetings to everybody there.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Yori, Jos used to be the most peaceful place in this country, where even people from other countries used to come relax.
It is a very unique place.
It's true.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So it's unfortunate that it has become, a terrible place. And the federal government, in my view, is not doing well on security. Upon all the talks, all the complaints people are making, I am not seeing sufficient response from the federal government. As things are going in just now, how can you be looking at a situation where people are withdrawing their children from
university?
I mean, I don't know how to describe that. Yeah. I think it is time for the federal government to declare a state of emergency in Jos and Niger states. We hear that in Niger.
You see, based on war,
the caller just said. I think it's now high time for us to have what the Ministry of Education should call a state of emergency for school security safety strategy. What is happening in Jos might likely happen anywhere else, not only in Jos, because there's always a pattern in security threat. Wherever you see one in Nigeria, we have a pattern now. And I'm not only going to say that, Mr. Yori, I think at this very point, don't let us just start putting the blames on the government alone.
Nobody has done that.
Yeah, the parents must be in charge as well to oversee what is really going on. And again, the stakeholders, the corporate bodies, even the people, even our security friends in the diaspora must come back home now and start thinking, how can we help?
Well, as I said, these are excellent ideas that we have to touch. But our desperation now is that we are, it's like a pool full of, alligators. And we've got our behind right in that pool right now.
Yeah,
so how do we sort this situation out? Mr. Yakub in Dokwemu, good morning, sir.
Chief Yori, and then the two girls in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Chief Yori, you see, first and foremost, what is the ratio of Nigerian police and the army and other security agencies in this country? What are the ratio in terms of numbers? Because there was a time, the governor of, I think, Zamfara State says that he has almost 30,000 bandits in his state.
Yeah.
So how many police do you need to tackle this kind of numbers? That is number. And then what stopped Nigerian government and then the police to recruit Nigeria? And then we are kind loud that there's no work, and then we are producing graduates on daily basis. Then we need number in police, we need number in the army, in the military and others. And then Nigerian government failed to recruit them. That is number one. Number two, Chief Yori, Babajide Otitolojo always mentions something on journalist hangout. He knows all these gang leaders. He always tells Nigerian government, I know they listen to this program and that program and other program in various television stations. Especially the journalist hangout. The Babajide normally mentions those leaders of those bandits. And then he always also said where they reside, where they are. What is this stopping Nigerian government to take them out? And then we bought a super Tucano.
You probably agree. Sorry, Yakub. You probably agree that if Babajide knows it, government knew it before him. The intelligence community already knows what Babajide is talking about. So I understand the anguish, the frustration. But stay with us, please. We'll take a quick break, and we have established contact with Honorable Daniel Naanlong. Honorable Daniel Naanlong. Honorable Daniel.
Yes, good morning.
Honorable Naanlong, thank you very much for making time for us. First of all, could you clear up the whole controversy about the situation in Plateau degenerating to the supposed sealing off of the State House of Assembly, which was then denied. So now we have you can tell us precisely what the situation is from the point of view of the State's House of Assembly.
Sorry, the sound is not too loud. I'm not hearing you proper.
Okay, let me try again. Is the State House of Assembly open?
The State House of Assembly, yes.
Is it open to business?
Yes. The State House of Assembly has always been open for business.
Okay.
Even though at the moment the House is on recess.
But this is an emergency. Hopefully, you guys are not continuing your holiday because of this emergency. Are there any ideas of this is an emergency, we've got to break our holiday, we've got to come back in?
Because of the security challenge?
Yes.
Well, normally when we're on recess, it does not mean that totally we do not come to our offices, particularly the principal officers. And where there are situations of emergencies, of course, the House will reconvene for business. But again, I was in my office this morning, and I believe other principal officers too are likely to be in their office. So the business in the House of Assembly is as normal as the way it's supposed to be, sir.
Okay, so where did the whole, the matter of the enhanced security presence, I imagine that the security presence around the house was significantly increased, so much so that you couldn't not see it. That might have led to concepts that the house was closed. So what was that all about? Why the need to increase very heavily security around the House of Assembly?
Well, I'm only hearing, I'm not too hearing you clearly, but from what I want to believe that you are saying is that that yesterday there were security presence in the State House of Assembly.
That's right. Why?
Well, I can say categorically that few policemen were on their normal patrol duty. They were actually in the house for a short period of time and they left. Nobody was harassed, nobody was intimidated. And I could call the OC to find out what was happening. And he told us that they are not there for any special assignment. And so the business of the house yesterday, there was no interruption, like the way the public are made to be understand that the house was sealed. No, the House of Assembly was never sealed. Business activities in the State House of Assembly is still going on, even at the moment.
Okay, now give me your assessment then, sir, about the security situation. And there's a lot of tension between Government House, the governor, and indeed the federal authorities.
The sound is too faint. I'm finding it difficult to get you.
Okay, I wanted an assessment from you as a principal officer of the House as to the security situation in Plateau now.
Well, the situation in Plateau State at the moment is relatively peaceful. People are going on their normal businesses. And the curfew has been relaxed to 6 to 6 in Jos local government, and then in Jos South, 6 to 10. So business has returned to normal, and we pray and hope that the security will be sustained, and people will have to do their normal business as usual. So we are hopeful that the situation is under control.
Honorable, do you have any comments about parents from other states withdrawing their school children in Plateau State?
Well, the issue of withdrawal of students from school, let me make particular reference to University of Jos. It was actually quite unfortunate that at the time when students were writing exams and this ugly incident happened. But again, it was not the best idea for the children to leave, for the students to leave their school premises. The best that could have been done was to provide adequate security within the university so that the students will be protected and they should be allowed to write their exams so that after writing their exams, they can go back to their various residents. But the idea of moving students back to their various destinations, for me, it is quite unfortunate, but I believe that the government and the university and the security agencies are working modality to see that students return to their schools and write and complete their exams.
Okay.
So I believe at the moment that's what governments are doing, and I'm sure they will be able to achieve that. Thank you.
Okay, because on the one hand, you are saying that its security has, largely returned to a manageable level. But do you understand the perhaps apprehensions of the parents of those students being the reason they felt, look, I've got to bring my ward out of that place? It's not a thing that will be done lightly. So contrasting that mindset with you saying that it's largely, back to normal, do you think there needs to be more to be said about the actual lie of the ground in Plateau State in Jos right now?
be honest with you, situation at the moment, like I said, is relatively peaceful.
Okay.
And the presence of security agencies are almost everywhere within the local government. That is just not local government. And I know that security has been beefed up within those flashpoints. And for me, it's that parents should be able to allow their students to go back to school.
Okay.
Looking at the present situation, aside the way and manners other people are escalating it, the most important thing is to provide security. And with the presence of security at the moment, with the robust engagement of government with critical stakeholders and the university community, I am sure and I'm confident that given the opportunity for students to come back to school, the situation at the moment is encouraging, and we will encourage parents to allow their students to go back to school to write these exams under the watchful leadership of the securities,
Okay.
which are almost in every critical areas, particularly the flashpoint.
I hear you, Honorable Naanlong. Just one quick one.
Yes, sir.
When you explain it this way, you know, you say you said others are escalating it, and you said your position, what you've said, contrary to the perspectives of others who are escalating it. What is it that you understand to be the major tension points? Is it religious? Is it ethnic? Is it, you know, where do you think the stress is really coming from that makes all of this as difficult as it is to manage? Your perspective as an individual, a citizen, and a government official in there, an official source in there.
Well, thank you very much. I do not want to believe that the cause of this crisis is religion. Neither is it ethnicity. My firm stand is that we have criminals elements that want to disrupt the peace that this government, for the period of 6 years down the line, there had been relative peace. Business in Plateau State was moving very, very well. And I believe that some criminal elements are not comfortable with the situation. So they have embarked on, unleashing terror on innocent people who are living their normal lives in their various homes. And these criminal elements cut across different tribes and different faiths. And so until government begin to look at the act of criminality as an issue, as
Okay, it looks like the wavelength or whatever it is called went a bit wonky there, but it's possible that you might be hearing us, because if you are, when you come back on, I wanted you to, just before we, thank you very much, and before we leave, I wanted you to sort of give me your impressions on what you think, or your whole, your viewpoint generally on what the federal government is doing or not doing that could help the whole matter. Honorable Naanlong, I beg your pardon, Honorable Naanlong, are you still there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, what in your impression is the relationship between the federal and the state authorities as regard this problem? Give me your impressions on what the issues are.
Well, security at the moment is in the hands of the federal government. And that is why some of us are of the opinion and advocating for a constitutional review that will provide for state police, where a state governor can have the power to direct in areas where there is a security challenge. But at the moment, everything that has to do with mobilization, directive, and what have you, comes from the federal government. So my belief is that looking at the government, we can actually see the mobilization of security personnel coming in. The challenge, like every one of us that are, facing, is the issue of federal government being swift on issues of security regarding to giving directives to those people who are responsible in discharging their various responsibility at the point that they are given the opportunity to serve. I don't want to dabble into other issues. But security,
but right there is an important one from a government's perspective, I think, in Plateau State, that perhaps the federal authorities, in coming across, could respond with a bit more, I think alacrity is the word, a bit faster in response for it to be of any help. That is a major complaint from the government.
It's a major issue, yes.
And that's where
it's a major issue.
That's where the governor feels a bit abandoned and has made some comments that the federal government has taken exception to, and so we have the situation we have on our hands.
Yes.
I want to thank you very much, Honorable Daniel.
The sound is too faint from my own area, so I can hardly hear you.
Okay, well, I was just rounding off, actually, and thanking you for making yourself available and helping us understand ever so, much better about the situation over there. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you,
All right, then. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Well, so I think at the end of it, we sort of got that the situation being what it is, everybody is sort of being cautious and careful about how they report the security situation so as not to worsen matters. But it did come out from the Honorable Majority Leader in the Plateau State House of Assembly that they feel the federal government could have shown a bit more empathy, if that is the word, to the situation by reacting faster to responses. And not doing so, I think, is where the Governor Simon Naanlong is exasperated and sometimes makes...
That's exactly...
I'll come to you.
He just aligned himself with what I said earlier on, where I said...
Yes, right.
In terms... When he comes to...
as a chief security officer, that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works.
The governor,
until the constitution is amended,
which was why I mentioned the constitution also.
Which is not a new idea.
It's not.
We've been speaking about this need for ages.
Ages and ages. So the governor at any given point in time has no authority over the security agencies. He cannot give a direct. But let us not leave it at that, so that we don't just leave the governor. Don't also forget that the governors also get security votes. What do they get? Billions, not millions, billions and billions of naira when it comes to security votes. So what do they do with
it goes back to the point that was made on the program already, that the governor, there must be some...
There's
some levels that the government and the governor in charge can actually execute.
In Lagos don't only depend on the Nigerian police and army. We have neighborhood watch in Lagos. And some other states have also started coming up with some of their own, to be able to come up with their own local security architecture that can also help. So if the federal is not coming in as swiftly as possible, you can also mobilize your own. There are so many unemployed youths hanging around the whole state that can be used for this.
Let me see if I can get Mr. Okpara in. Mr. Okpara is calling in from Lagos. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, and good morning to the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, for over how many years, telling the same story, and we are not tired of the same story, the same killing, the same security issue. The federal government know what to do. They don't want to do it. The panelists here have said something. Everybody that comes to the panel here said about community policing, state police, but the government of the day is not ready for that. Look at when the governors went to the presidency. He said, go and sort your security by yourself. And when the people try to organize the security by themselves, the government will come up again against them. So where are we? People are being killed every day. People are dying. When the father does not take care of his children, who will take care of them? If the head is rotting, the bottom will not be okay. Let the federal government do what is right.
Okay.
Constitution review. They don't review it. Give us state police, no. Community policing, no. Give us the one you have, no. People are being killed every day. Life is nothing again in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Akwara, calling in from Lagos. So your turn now. You can see that it is what it is.
It's what it is, and I like what Chris just said, that, look, we have this security budget vote. Every governor seems to have been given his or her own every time. The question we've been asking for days, for years is, what have you been doing with your security budget vote? Remember, this present government in Plateau State inherited this insecurity years back. So it is not just a new thing. It's been happening, but they seem to have this body language as in, it's not really my problem. Let me see for a new way to fashion out a new thing. So this is where we find ourselves.
Well,
until we sort out the lollipop security we have in Nigeria, there is no way we can get an onion security back in Nigeria.
Well,
yes.
See, I don't want to open up another angle. Lollipop and then onion.
Onion, yes.
Okay, we'll leave that for another day. But those things must be security tools. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We've got to leave it here because pathetically, it's an issue that is known to just about every Nigerian.
It is.
That this thing that
and
is
across the states.
and across the state and all other Nigerians,
yes.
that this situation that looks to be intractable, the newspapers are full of analysis, full of suggestions, but you just heard the man in Pato in the center of it all saying that, well, from their perspective, the way they see it, where they are standing, the government, federal government, is not helping them as much as it could. Well, that's his perspective, and I've already said that the federal government takes exception to that view, but that's just the way it is. So I want to thank you very much for coming on and talking about this. It's unfortunate we can't but talk. There's some things, we know a lot of things that can be done, but we're talking about the immediate now. Everybody just has to sort of come together to reduce those killings. Thank you very much, Chris Kehinde Nwandu, public affairs analyst and journalist. Thank you very much, Mr. Aratokun Ali, Femi Aratokun Ali, security expert, UK-based, but as I was saying, you keep your eye on what's going on here. Yes.
No, it's lollipop.
Lollipop and onion. Those are concepts we'll come to later on. And then Honorable Daniel Naanlong, if you're still watching us, thank you very much, sir, for also coming on. He's the majority leader in the Plateau State House of Assembly.